This is Claude Anders and non-existent domain joining today. Um, we're going to be recording one of our weekly meetings, share with the community, just to kind of let everyone in on what we've been talking about and what we're working on, and the insider info. So that being said, this is just going to be kind of like a casual conversation, meeting, going over our to dos, talking about Algorand, things like that. So, I know we were just getting started on talking about the node that non-existent has set up for us, and eventually integrating the protocol for getting the consensus reward staking set up so people could pool Algorand with us to earn consensus rewards once that's been implemented. Um, did y'all want to say anything else about that, or did y'all want to maybe kind of move on to the next bullet point?
Um, I think, yeah, I mean, I think if anything goes wrong, it's kind of on you guys here.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that's something we'll, kind of tackle more when the time comes. But I think you guys have been kind of like working on it a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of poking around on it.
Just experimenting, non-existence doing most of the work, because when it comes to that, I really don't understand a lot of it, like I said. But it's it's going to be pretty interesting. But I know that we're also working on, like the leaderboard adjustments, boss battles, with the like lottery kind of idea, with like the or Dragon's Horde, as we were calling it, uh, the raffling system. Um, Lots of cool things. So
yeah, I think we have a couple things like in the pipeline. Right now I'm kind of working on that raffle system. And pretty much it's going to be a way to set up a raffle with like a few different rewards. So someone could be like, the prize for this raffle is going to be 10,000 Dart coin, and well, maybe it'd be a little more than that. Maybe like 100,000 Dart coin, and maybe like a champion NFT or something.
so
and
any
then
asset could be set for the prize, like any token, any NFT. That sounds pretty awesome.
yeah, it's like any asset on the Algorand chain, and then they could also set like the ticket price. So let's just say like 100 Dart coin or something. Um, and so then people can go in and start buying tickets for this raffle, and pretty much we'll have, we have that like little server that you're running. We'll add a script to that server that will run through everyone that's bought tickets. And I think we'll make it so like people can buy like multiple tickets for the raffle.
For sure.
And then essentially just like select someone at random to win the prize, and send those assets to that person. And I want to set it up so that like anyone can go in and create a raffle. Like maybe other projects want to do something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I could see that being pretty awesome, especially if like, you could kind of set it up maybe like just I'm kind of picturing like from the user interface side, kind of like maybe how a shuffle would look like on AlgoX NFT, where like you go to set up this thing and it lets you set like a image for the shuffle, lets you lets you
Mm-hmm.
put the assets in, but then you can like share a dynamic link to that shuffle or raffle, and you had mentioned like when people are setting the ticket price, like if people are able to like choose different assets for tickets as well, like I think that would be pretty interesting. Like if they could accept Algorand or Darkcoin or
Mm-hmm.
Trees, uh that would be pretty interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm setting it up so that like you could use any asset to um for like a ticket, like to charge as like a ticket.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, there's also one thing that's a little tough is like, using like finding like the images for each of these assets. Like if you set it up so that like any asset could be used, then it would be kind of nice to have like an image, like an icon of those assets. Um, but I know Tiny Man, like they have that GitHub repo that's
Mhm.
like full of those images. Um, and then yeah, I mean I think it's honestly doable because you could just like for the NFTs, like there's ways to get the image link from those. Um, yeah, it's a little interesting because like NFTs, they have their images kind of encoded in different ways on the asset data.
Yeah, I've noticed
Um, yeah,
different.
so yeah, like I've kind of had to set up like different like if statements, just saying like if the NFT is like encoded this way, then this is how you get the image, and if it's this way, you have to get the image like this, and like the ARC-19 stuff, the IPFS ID is like an encoding of the reserve address.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's another different way to get the image.
yeah, it's really
Uh,
interesting. I even remember running into some of this with the Jollyverse page, um,
yeah.
getting the babies to load. I had to add like three different checks. Well, because there were the different, you know. But yeah, it is interesting how there's like the way the IPFS is stored. Um, yeah, I still am struggling to get my head around like the whole ARC-19 reserve address thing. Like that just kind of blows my mind, to be honest. But it's pretty cool. But
Yeah, I know there's like, that's a whole nother rabbit hole you can go down is all the different arcs, like
mhm.
what they mean. Like, um, I know we were using ARC 69 for a while, which,
Yeah,
not really, maybe 69 just kind of spoke out to you or something.
I think it was the fact that the metadata could be updated, because
Hmm.
at the time of minting the DAO series, I
Hmm.
didn't fully understand how to like use the metadata that I had, and so I minted them without metadata. And because they're ARC-69 now, I should be able to theoretically go and update all of those assets metadata, um,
Hmm.
to their traits because I do have that in their static traits in that series. So definitely something that can be done. Uh, but that was the idea behind that, and even like as
Hmm.
far as like the raffle goes, like it does the the image is just kind of like a little bit of extra thing. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
definitely, you definitely want to try to like render the reward asset. You know, whether it's like a token image or the NFT IPFS, but you know, it's I think you could even still make a functioning product. You know, that might
Hmm.
catch most of them, but then you'll still run into like outliers, right? Like someone might mint this NFT in a really weird way, and you just don't have the check to account for that. But I think as long as we're catching
Yeah.
most of them, that's the main thing for now, and people could still use it without the image. You know what I mean? They could
Mhm.
always, maybe it could like create a hyperlink to Para Explorer or something, to, you know, where people could click on the reward asset name and, you know, at least see the image that way if it is something weird, you know. But just an
Mhm.
idea anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for now, like, I probably won't do any of the images. Like, what I have right now is just having like the asset ID and the unit name
Mhm.
and like the amount next to it. So it'll say like rewards, like Darkcoin, ASA ID. It's like one. I don't know if I have it like totally memorized yet. It's like 108877
Yeah,
something. And then it'll say like amount, like 100,000, and then it'll list out all the rewards like that, and then it'll list out the ticket price in the same way. Um, and then I'm also doing it by round time, so someone could say like, "Oh, I want this raffle to last, 100 or 1,000 rounds or whatever," which isn't very long.
okay.
And then that should what I'm doing is I'm taking the block time, like the current block time, and then I'm taking like the block time of like 100 blocks ago,
Mhm.
and then taking an average of like the block times. I think it's averaging out to be like 2.8 seconds or something.
Okay,
So then it pretty much finds the average block time and then like gives the person an estimate on like how many days those rounds are going to take.
gotcha.
Um, and I don't know, it's just like a little weird, like working with times when everyone's like on a different time.
Yeah,
Um, and I figured since we're all like using the blockchain, like we could all just use like the block times.
yeah, or maybe I wonder if there's like a way to just like do like UTC time conversion from like the block. You know what I mean? Like the current block, or the block that the, you know, raffle is set to be drawn on. You know, if
Hmm.
there's a way to convert that into UTC, I would imagine so. But that would just be like
Hmm.
the most universal way, and that's how we've done it with the uh, announcements in the past. That was actually Jolly that suggested
Yeah.
that. Um, but yeah, other than that, I think just going with the block, the block number itself is probably the because I mean that's expected to be fairly consistent, right? Like where we can expect a certain block number to be reached by this time and date. So within,
Hmm.
you know, some degree of error, but
Yeah. Yeah. I should. I've been just kind of like chipping away on it, and I think I don't know, I'm hoping to have it out in like at the latest maybe a couple weeks. But there's some like IRL things coming up that
yeah,
um might slow me down a little bit. But
for sure.
yeah, that's like the thing I'm like currently chipping away at.
Nice. Heck yeah.
Um,
I feel you, man. I just got this new job going, so sometimes it can it can make getting all this finished like fast a little difficult,
Mhm.
but I think quality is definitely more important than speed at this point, I feel like. So um
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I think I think that raffle system could definitely be like a really big deal. I could see people using it. It's just a simple tool that you can use to set up giveaways, and
Mhm.
do fundraising, or you could even theoretically sell tickets for super cheap. So you're basically giving stuff away almost for free or whatever. Um, definitely, I could see people using that. So,
So I guess I had a question
uh-huh,
that I was gonna ask. Because I joined like a little late to
uh-huh.
the party here. And I think you guys both were doing this for a little bit. Um, and I was just kind of wondering, and yeah, I saw you guys had like some Discord stuff going on um, before I had even joined.
Hmm.
I actually I had bought in some dark coin because I read like your guys' dark paper.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, before I even really knew you guys. And then I think I ended up like selling a big portion of it. So there might have been like a little pump and dump going on
I mean,
there.
That was you? Oh, man.
But
there was a couple people doing that, so I wouldn't feel
yeah.
too bad. I mean, I just like was buying it and trying to like get as much as I could for staking rewards, but there was
Yeah.
definitely like some big, volatility spikes that happened when we first minted the original token and the second one too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what really was my thought process behind all that. But
I mean, it's the casino. People are trying to buy and trade the tokens to make money. At the end of the
yeah.
day, I think that's what most people are after. Is seems like that anyway. I mean, look at like where the money ends up most of the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's part of the whole deal is like, you buy the tokens like they're your tokens to do what you want with them.
yeah,
Um but yeah, I was just kind of wondering, what maybe was like the inspiration behind the project and maybe why. I mean, I think Darkcoin's a pretty cool name.
mhm,
Um but yeah, like maybe kind of what maybe your like crypto genesis story or something.
for sure. Well, like I would say the name was my friend's idea, because I was
Mm,
just like talking to him like, hey, what do you think? What do you think it would be a good name for this? But and at the time when I looked it up, I didn't see any other projects named that. So I think because Dash had rebranded from Darkcoin to Dash, so but
mm,
unfortunately, I don't really regret not seeing that and changing the name because I like the name. But the just the idea to make a project in general was something like I had wanted to do for a long time, and I wanted to make a DAO.
mm,
And I first like had found out like what a DAO was like through Tron, like conceptually, not that I'm like super into the way the Tron DAO is because it's kind of like super centralized. I think there's like 13 super representatives that vote on everything. But like and so that was like the original plan for the project was to make like an on-chain voting system that would like give the voters and like holders of these assets like control over the project like through smart contracts that could potentially control like the creator wallet's funds or or like how
mm,
you have kind of set it up to where like the smart contract of the DAO could have funds deposited into it, and then the proposals could be voted on to fund different things. So kind of
Mhm.
made a lot of progress in that original idea. But that was the original like concept. And I just like when I was looking into start a project, I picked Algorand because it was like the best option tech wise, to because I wasn't trying to like create a pump and dump project, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really care if
Mhm.
the price didn't like 100x. Like that would be great if it did. Don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I think despite the negative price action with Algorand, like Darkcoin has actually done fairly decently. I mean, it's low liquidity, low market cap. So, but
Mhm.
despite all the pumping and dumping, it's had steady growth. And, you know, I can't say whether that will always happen or not because the price action isn't always like correlated with the value of a project, like the technology wise or how useful it is. But you know, um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think, throughout like being a part of this project, um, Algo was at like, $1.50, like $1.70 at one point. And, that's, it's almost like 10x or whatever,
oh yeah,
where we are now. And so, yeah, I mean, Dark Coin is ultimately like the price of it's ultimately based off of Algo,
yes,
in the tiny man liquidity pool. And yeah, I mean, if you think like if Algo's worth like $1, maybe 5 times what it is worth today, then Dark Coin's also it's gonna follow
absolutely.
that same upward kind of trend. Um, so yeah, I think it's still like a lower. It's like I think we have like 10K or something in the liquidity pool.
Hmm.
Um, I think the price of algos kind of held us down a little bit, but
A little
you
bit.
know, yeah.
As far as price goes, for sure, and like there,
Mhm.
there are less users on Algorand, which is one of the things people criticize it for. Um, so that but that also to me is like kind of like opportunity as well because I do think that when people start, when the chain starts seeing more adoption and use, and I do think it will as time goes on and people see like the problems with other blockchains when they're actually using it and they're not just only using it to transfer like the native token from Coinbase and then swap to some shit token, hoping that they're gonna, you know, buy the right one that's gonna be their crypto moonshot. That's like, and
Mhm.
that's it, what most of the activity is you see on like I would say like for Solana, for example. I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
90% of the transactions taking place are even like people actually like using DeFi aside from literally just like swapping to a token or some other token they're trying to buy and hold, thinking that that's going to be the one that's going to take off,
Mhm.
and like, which is, part of the game too, I guess. Like, I'm not like saying anything is wrong with that. It's just when you have more, uh, like, I guess like real world use case,
Mhm.
I feel like Algorand is just a better option.
Yeah, yeah. I do feel like that's like a lot of the conversation around crypto is like, oh, like which is the next like hype coin to like get into or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I've listened to like some other crypto podcasts, and I I feel like that's kind of what it's about mainly. It's like, oh, like you gotta get into this one, like it's it's gonna explode.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like I feel like that's kind of the wrong way to talk about crypto. Like, I think everyone is, most people, they are trying to see like profits on their investments, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I do think it kind of does like the technology a disservice if you're just like, if you're just talking about like, hype um, and that's kind of something I wanted to like address like on this podcast and like maybe offer like um a different like view on crypto and like actually like looking into the technology and like what it could be used for.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean this project that we're working on is like it's somewhat of an experiment with the technology.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean the more I'm kind of like looking into this stuff, like the more kind of fascinated I'm getting and like becoming of it. And yeah, I mean like what you were saying earlier is like with the DAOs and everything, that's like a big interest of mine. Is like I don't know, I think we all have like a lot of issues, like people have different issues like with the government, and I think a DAO could be like a really beneficial thing to like make sure more voices are like heard. Um,
I
and
agree.
like yeah, and like people can put their money in whatever DAO or whatever they think like best reflects their interests.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and hopefully like in these DAOs like it'll be transparent where there can't really be any like strings kind of being pulled behind the scenes, and
Right.
much like there is in like the real world.
And like traditional finance, like the stock
Yeah.
market, where there's a lot of manipulation, and that's because of the centralized nature behind it.
Hmm.
Like like just for example, like how corporations vote, shareholders, like it kind of creates a better way for companies like that to conduct that kind of thing, because it would give the shareholders more of a voice if they could uh,
Hmm.
propose and vote on measures for the corporation in a public and immutable way, where people can see who voted on what, and verify the results, instead of just having to just trust that that's how
Hmm.
it went.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I've thought, yeah, like what you're saying, like, I think it'd be pretty cool if you had like some kind of business that was like collectively owned and decisions were made in like a decentralized manner. Um, and then, people could like crowd fund the business, and, it could work somewhat similar to the stock market where you could like invest into different yeah, like projects or businesses. But at least people could kind of see like where all the money is going. Like people working in like everyday like traditional employment, they don't really know like if they're getting a fair shake like in the place they're working, because the the boss is gonna take home like as much money as they can. Um, so I think it'd be nice to be able to see like, oh, like this employer is actually like, maybe if there was like a more of a top down structure, at least you could see like the employer is is not just ripping their employees off.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of like, what interests me the most about this technology is like actually being able to set up these like systems where people can like trust what's going on, and um, it's less about the next like big meme coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I hope I'm holding that coin when it takes off or whatever, but like I'm not really.
yeah,
That's
you're not like like hyping it up to other people, like trying to get other people to like buy into it,
yeah,
and like
not at all,
speculation.
not at all.
Yeah.
And like most of my bags are either in Ethereum or Algorand, but
Hmm.
just really holding that long term because I'm pretty much just investing responsibly and only with what I can afford to lose if everything goes worse way. So
Hmm.
anyway, but yeah, it's and I do think it's fair to like call like this project like an experiment with the technology because that's kind of like the idea behind it. It was an experimental grassroots project just to see if like regular people like us could create and produce these kind of products with the technology. And I would say that like as far as that goes, like I think the answer is yes. It's very easy to learn. I wouldn't say easy, but it's uh, very doable to learn and create.
Hmm.
These kind of applications and products. And then really, I think at the end of the day, it's like if you can come up with good ideas for use cases, then be the first person to make a good product that people want to use for that purpose. That's really the value
Hmm.
behind the project right now. I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah, it's somewhat of like I think we have somewhat of like a scattershot approach.
Yeah.
Like we just kind of want to, try out, different, essentially like financial systems that you can build
Yes.
in a transparent way.
Different type of
And
smart contracts and utility.
yeah, yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, like a DeFi hub of different tools you can use.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't, I think our most like, probably our biggest product is the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that might be a good segue to like the boss battles slash like dragons horde we were kind of talking
Yeah.
about.
The lottery.
Yeah. Um, which we haven't really like hashed it all out completely yet.
For sure.
But yeah, pretty much we were thinking of doing it's kind of just like a lottery system, where people can use their champions to buy into it. And we were thinking about calling it Dragon's Horde because we would have this dragon kind of in the middle, and he's like protecting this horde of dark coin. And each champion can like enter the dragon's horde and like pay a little bit of dark coin to the pot. Um, and then I was thinking like each person could choose like to what degree like they're trying to make a grab at like the horde or whatever. So like I was thinking like people could either choose like make a grab for it or something, and it has you know a lower-ish percentage of like stealing the horde,
Mhm.
but it also has like a pretty high percent of like getting like murked by the dragon.
Right.
But but then, someone else could be like, oh, I'm just going to stand back and like try to get the scraps or whatever. And so like maybe they have a lower percentage of getting like the big pot, but they also have a lower percentage of like getting eaten by the dragon.
Right.
So maybe they're just like just be a few kind of options to partake in this like lottery system. And then like, as people get killed or like eaten and maybe they want to rejoin to try to get the pot again, like the pot's going to keep increasing until someone gets it.
Exactly.
So it's like it's kind of like I don't know, kind of like a boss battle system. The boss battles was kind of like a lottery kind of system, I think. That's what we were thinking about. But yeah, I think this would be kind of like a cool way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
agree. It would be, like something that just another thing that the champions could be used for.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think I was gonna try to do that like after the raffle system, so that might be a little ways down the line, but
for sure.
yeah, it's like I don't have like I only have two arms or
Yeah, yeah. You gotta,
but
you gotta do what you can. It's iterative
yeah.
development. So one step before the next. Anyway, otherwise you'll never get anything done if you just do nothing but start projects and then never finish
Mhm.
them. Right. But and I think it makes sense too because like we were saying, like the DAO is kind of like a good template to start from for something like this, just because like it's something users can create through input, and we just need
Mhm.
to allow them to be able to set it up and configure the contract the way they need to, pass the arcs that set up the raffle for them, and I think it
Mhm.
makes sense
Yeah.
for the boss battles too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's definitely like a period there where I think non-existent domain was like kind of like going crazy on some of those apps or whatever,
Yeah,
which I appreciate. It's like, it's good to like take a step back and, have someone that knows a little bit about like, how to break, like how the internet works and like how
yeah,
to potentially like get it, like break into web apps. And um, so it's good to kind of like revisit different apps, check if there's like, vulnerabilities. And um, it's good to like, yeah, take a step back and just kind of like,
for sure.
make sure things are working.
Especially with something like this, right? Because it could be, you're depositing potentially high value rewards. We want to make sure that they're secure in that smart contract, and that someone can't just abuse like the API or whatever, uh, or the input. So it definitely something that takes a little bit of time, right? I feel like we've made a lot of progress, as far as like validating that type of thing with validation and authentication, in general in the
Mm,
application to kind of safeguard things like that. And those, yeah, it definitely helps having someone who knows how to do all that, like pen testing. Because
yeah.
I, uh, I still am trying to get my head around like like intercepting and manipulating packets and stuff like that. But it's good to know and
Mm,
see how easily it can be done because we kind of ran into that with ASA blasters, but it's
mm,
part of the learning process. We're just a small group of people. We're not a we're not a huge company with a lot of developers working in teams. It's just kind of what we got. We work with what we have, and we when we get to problems like this, sometimes we just kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's good that we have like, before like the stakes are like super high, there was that exploit in the Acid Blasters game, and someone was able to get in and like take those assets out of it was through the API that they were able to call it and just pull some of those assets out. And so yeah, we set up like some server side validation to that. So now when someone plays the game, their score is updated in a cloud server.
yeah,
And then the API pulls the data from that cloud server and uses that to like see how many rewards they should send the person. And so yeah, I mean maybe it's, I don't know, we've had it up. We haven't had it I haven't like put the link on the home screen yet, but maybe we should kind of release that
I think it's
beast to
definitely,
people.
yeah, for sure. I think, I think the measures you've implemented should, prevent that from happening again for sure, because it's authenticating that input. So, uh, but yeah, definitely, like, it's a learning process, and like, especially for me, because I can't even make a smart contract. Like, I maybe make like a hello world smart contract, but I'd probably
Mhm.
struggle a little too long to deploy it compared to most people. So, um, but yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, maybe we could put that back up on the next update or something, and
yeah,
we could maybe I could throw some of my Darkcoin in there
same.
just to make it so people can get a little bit more.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I'll go buy a little bag of each of the partner projects probably, and uh, throw some more in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Darkcoin pump incoming.
Yeah, it's
I'll just
definitely been
do
a
it.
learning experience for everyone because since everything's custom made, we kind of have to be our own marketing team, security, development.
Yeah,
There's all these different areas that you don't really think about when you're first starting projects.
yeah,
So it's kind of interesting to see how that has unfolded.
yeah. It's like, I feel like people just end up wearing a lot of hats. Uh, is how it kind of has worked out so far.
Well, yeah, it was like I remember I was keeping the seed phrase for like that house wallet.
Mhm.
I think it was like on the front end. It was in this like
And it was
this
an
like
environment variable.
yeah, it was like I think it was an environment variable, but then I was like using it in the front end code.
Right.
And so I think you have to use those environment rails in the APIs because those are like stored on the server.
Mhm.
But then in like putting that in the API, like those APIs are like publicly callable from anywhere. And so someone was just able to call the API and like, input like put the right values into the request and then it was able to use that private key to like send out the rewards. Although they couldn't see the private key, the API was using it, and
Yeah.
it was just sending the transaction based off of what was requested in the API. And so, yeah, that just like, yeah, it was definitely a big learning moment
For sure.
for me.
The same
And
here. Same here. Like just how the signing process works, on Algorand, like is super awesome technology, but like it took a little bit to get my head around. But like, yeah, the signing and then encrypting of the signed transaction before it's transmitted, I think we ended up was the key to that, right? And we just moved that whole process to the back end, and for sure. But then and then like you said, then there's also the issue with the authenticating the user input to the API to make sure, like, hey, does this guy even have the right to be doing this right now, kind of thing. And yeah, definitely interesting concepts for like the development standpoint, because yeah, it's just that's, I guess, the kind of stuff you learn with experience.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the still learning things. And when an issue comes up that needs to be addressed, like we'll get on it. But sometimes things are missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to have someone that's like doing some of that like pen testing stuff, because that can be like time consuming. And like after I build something, I don't necessarily want to break
Yeah,
break
yeah.
it,
It's
because
like
it's
building
like,
a house
well, I
and then
just
attacking
build
it with a
it.
sledgehammer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, well, if I break it, I'm gonna have to like fix it again, and I just finished it. So like, I'm like, yeah, it's it is a lot of work sometimes, just putting all these pieces together to make this stuff work. So yeah, it's hard to like try to mess it up after I build it, but
Man,
it's
believe
good
it or
to.
not, we're down to about 7.5 minutes left on this recording. So,
Okay.
but I think we've got probably a good 35, 40 minutes of recording anyway. But just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure like what else I really wanted to get to. I think we covered most of it.
No, I think so. Yeah, we went over the raffle, the lottery, just kind of talked about our current sentiment with Algorand and the technology and cryptocurrency in general. And did you have anything you wanted to talk about from the pen testing side or node side, non-existent?
Yeah, I guess right now, I guess eventually we're planning on hopefully having an indexer going, so that we're no longer having to rely on AlgoNode. And so I'm just kind of looking into how to set all of that up securely, since we would be hosting like our own server,
Right.
is the plan. And then the Ready protocol, setting up, pools for, I guess, staking rewards. So anyone can just, add in their assets to receive some rewards
Yeah,
from a node we're running.
without having to have like the whole 30,000 Algorand.
Right. But yeah, that's about it, I think, unless you have any questions.
No, I think that, yeah, no, I think we went over that in pretty good detail earlier. I don't know, I'm just checking the to-dos, see if there's anything else interesting to mention. Yeah, I do think the raffle will be a pretty big deal, man. I think that's going to be pretty cool once we get that up and running and people can start using it. I could see myself using it a lot just for our community. So, um, definitely something that I'm excited about.
With the Ready protocol stuff, is that so that's like, I mean, I should probably just like look into it, but it's like anyone can kind of like crowdfund the node. And then can those funds, well, I don't know, is Algo Foundation like doing the governance thing after the node stuff is gonna come on?
Yeah, it's supposed to switch over to consensus nodes through the what do you is it? I believe it's called like a gossip network.
Hmm. Yeah, okay. But then, so I guess people would all be able to pool their algos into this node.
Right.
And then I'm guessing the protocol would like distribute the rewards among, proportionately among the people that
Exactly.
put into it, I guess.
Yeah, like
Right.
I think the point is to get rid of relay nodes, and they're gonna have it to where data flows between consensus nodes, and so you have to have that minimum balance. But since if we can just put up the minimum balance, then that way other people can stake and withdraw their Algorand freely from the protocol, without us ever having to worry about it going under that minimum requirement. Then we could just, share the rewards and distribute them evenly amongst people based on their proportion of what they've staked in the pot. So yeah, exactly right.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I'd be down to like do more of these little chats.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, in the future we could try to get like a little group huddle and recording out there, and just kind of like letting people know like what's going on in the project.
For sure.
And yeah, if, like, I guess if anyone has like questions they want us to answer, we could make like a channel for that, or have like a discussion channel or something.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll get this recording uploaded. I guess probably to YouTube, probably my first spot. But I'll put it together from the first half and the second half. But yeah, no, I think that this is I think this is pretty cool. If it's like weekly or something we do every 2 weeks or once a month or something, like, just to kind of, or maybe just as needed as we make progress with things, and we have enough things to talk about to generate the content. But yeah, definitely, I think it's just to kind of let people see what we've got going on behind the scenes, and how we're looking at things. So my cat
Sounds like someone's cat.
My cat is very upset right now. He says it's dinner time, but it's only 2:30, buddy. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to wait two more hours at least. Anyway, but yeah, I think we got about 1 minute left here before it's gonna kick us off. So any last thoughts?
I might like try to look up like a little tune or something, like,
Yeah, outro, intro. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
We should definitely splice that in. That's definitely, hell yeah, like the Dragon Ball Z intro theme.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever is it's cool or whatever.
Nah, something lo-fi or something chill for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was maybe thinking.